T-Boys TV. We are back again with another Hat Show, episode 249. Obviously, when we preview West Brom, it will be a milestone. It will be episode 250. So hopefully, previewing that game, it could be a monumental day in the sense of hopefully staying up after our dreadful season, let's be honest. But before we get into the Coventry reaction, Dad, how have you been since we last spoke?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad.
Good to hear. Good to see Paul in the chat, like always. He says, good evening, all. Good evening to yourself, Paul. Hope you are well. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So the lineup going into this game, I guess, was interesting when it said about the formation. So it actually said it was like a 3-4-3, essentially, which was quite interesting. So obviously, Kaminsky in goal, massive shout out to Kaminsky, obviously. As we know, obviously, the unfortunate passing of his dad, he stepped up and played in this game, and wanted to do it for the team. And, obviously, didn't have to make any standout saves in this game. But when he was called upon, he done well, got a clean sheet. So, fair play to him. The back three was Makoso, McGuinness and Mengi. We expected that. And then it was obviously Jones on the right, Bell on the left. And then it seemed like it was sort of like Dabo and Walsh. And then it said that Asgard was sort of on the left side. So essentially a left winger. Ali obviously on the right. We know he can play as a winger. And then Morris up front. And then as for the bench, we had Baptiste, Burke, Chong, Clark, Krul, Naismith, Nakamba, Nelson, Nordas. So interesting. When we see that formation originally, like obviously everyone else as well, you think to yourself, well, it's the formation we have been playing, predominantly under Bloomfield, which is obviously the 3-5-2, with Morris and Ali up front and things like that. But it seemed a bit different. And, for large parts of the game, I would say it definitely worked, didn't it, Dad?
Yeah, I think it was 3-5-2. Like, I think Asgard weren't on the left wing for me. But yeah, it was a strong lineup and pretty much expected.
Yeah, no, absolutely, with the players. But going into the first half, again, typical performance under Bloomfield, especially at home in the sense of the domination, really. Obviously, we were just on them from minute one. Obviously, they did get a red card. De Silva, like you mentioned in the vlog, Dad. Obviously, he did used to play for us when he obviously at younger age and stuff. And a lot of people going, "Oh, it's not a penalty; it's a dive." Well, if you look back at it, you look in slow motion. There is a clip, and at the end of the day, he's the last man, so he's always going to be sent off because that is just how the football rule is. And he's clipped him. He's clipped Ali. Ali's got the pace. So for me, he's not, been able to catch up with him. That he's took him out really, just with a little clip. And for me, it was the right decision. But from there on in, you're thinking to yourself, well, hopefully it's not like Blackburn where they go down to 10 men and we still can't score. But obviously we did in this game. But yeah, for me, it was a red. And, I think looking back at it, I think it was the right decision in the end. And obviously a lot of us think it is anyway. It's just more neutrals. But it was a definite red, don't you think, Dad?
Yeah, because what a lot of players do, like, now, because obviously he can't go in for the tackle. He has to get it spot on. He was wrong side of him. So what I've noticed certain players doing is deliberately running on the back of them to catch, their legs when they're running. They know what they're doing. That needs to be talked about more, and that's exactly what happened. So it is what it is. It could have gone the other way. So yeah, it's definitely red. You're on mute.
Yeah, I don't know why it mutes me sometimes automatically. But yeah, from there on in, we had a few chances. Obviously, the Morris header wide. Maybe he should have scored. Maybe. But it was, it was a decent opportunity. Asgard had a shot from outside the box. Which weren't a bad effort. I mean, obviously, I was saying to shoot, and obviously he did. So it's good that we are getting them long shots away. And, we're going 0-0. We're thinking, well, it's a good start. We just need that goal, really, because that has been a lot of the frustrations under Bloomfield. We've been very dominant in games, but we sometimes quite haven't been able to take the goals and the chances when it comes to the goals. Obviously, we did the game before that, but predominantly, you know, other than some away games, we haven't necessarily done that. So that's what we were thinking in the first half. But, we kept them fairly quiet. I mean, their goalkeeper was time wasting quite early on. There was a few other instances. Morris got fouled about 3 times in one build-up. Binks, me, arguably could have been sent off. The challenge on Walsh, there was another challenge as well. They were quite dirty, Coventry, I'll be honest. And again, I think it was similar to when Leeds come to Kenilworth Road in the sense of they couldn't handle the physicality. And to be honest, they should have got a lot way more cards than they did. You could argue, and obviously we'll get into it, that we could have maybe had 2 red cards, ended up having 2 red cards, but they should have anyway. And I called it even before we got the first red card. So that's how I see it, really, when it comes to the first half. It's the same sort of thing, wasn't it, Dad? Dominating, it was just taking that chance, really.
Yeah, frustrating. This is why we need to get some more strikers and that. But at least we are taking shots outside the box and that. But with 0-0, we was looking, draw either this game and a win at West Brom or vice versa. Do you know what I mean? But we still played, dominated them more. As you should be doing with 10 men. But we should have been more clinical at times. And then, obviously the second half, and that Walsh had a great shot. He was running the show, by the way. Up until he got sent off, of course. Best player on the pitch by a mile, and they just couldn't deal with him.
Yeah, no, getting into Walsh's performance, obviously, there was a stage in the later on in the first half where the commentators were saying, they were doubling up on him. And it still weren't working. He was still managing to get passes in behind. Obviously, he had the shot like you mentioned, and he could argue that as his best game for Luton. And for me, he's getting better and better upon it each game. And despite him getting a red card, it was an exceptional performance. And it's a performance where you think, well, now he just needs to learn the discipline, because that has been his problem, let's be honest. The tackling's much better, but it's just little stuff which he just needs to work on. Obviously, the push on the player. If you actually look back at it as well, McGuinness was obviously, that's who the player was starting on. And McGuinness was just allowing it. Do you know what I mean? He weren't getting fazed by it. And then Walsh goes over there, pushes him. There's no need for it. But, I've seen a lot of people go, we'll be honest, we were quite reactionary, at the time, because at the end of the day, it's heat of the moment. We're saying, well, no, that's it now. 3 red cards, he needs to, what's he doing? Do you know what I mean? But the more you think about it, it's one of them where you look at it and you think he was quality on the day. Very unlucky that he didn't score. He was people saying it was the closest performance to what we've seen of Ross Barkley performances for us last year. So you have to give him the credit. It's just the discipline which he does need to work on. And I can understand the fans' frustration from that side of things because, like I said, we were frustrated at the time. But, it's definitely one you want to keep going forward next year still, isn't it, though?
Yeah, well, the thing is, we've had issues with discipline for that this season. You know what I mean? The guy had only been sent off once in his career before he joined us. Let's to get that fucking straight away. Do you know what I mean? And that was when he was, 17 or something. And yeah, he shouldn't have, But actually, if you look back at it, McGuinness pushed the geezer first. You know what I mean? Pushed him out of the way. So it was exactly the same thing. It's, he went down like a sack of shit, as they do. They like to do, all these namby-pamby footballers nowadays. Do you know what I mean? A bunch of pussies half of them, let's be honest. You know what I mean? And that's what we don't want none of that crap at our club. So he needs to sort it out. He's obviously got real quality. Can't be doing that, and it makes him a target. I think the referee just wanted to send him off. Do you know what I mean? It's like they joined the club, that Walsh, yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was a yellow at worst, definitely. which is still bad, and he's jeopardised it, all that good work, put it out the window. You know, not condoning it, but it's just, he just needs to put a lid on that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but the whole club as a whole, its discipline this season has been terrible. In the Premier League, we had the best discipline, and it's just dropped. So it's not just on him. Other players have got, you know, been sent off, and you know, is it the captain? Do you know what I mean? Does it come from him? Does it come? Where does it come from? Is it certain attitudes in the you know, camp? What is it? Whether or not it's overturned is a different matter. I think it might be, but even if it's not, we have Naismith, Clark to step in there and deal with it as appropriate. He's only. We'll see if we can continue with him. I think we should still continue with him, you know, because I'd rather the quality that he's got, and you just sort them issues out. You know, that's got to be a record. You know, what player gets sent off 3 times in a season? Very rarely happens. And like I said, you know, until we come to Luton, he hadn't been sent off for years, 9 years or something. So it's not an inherent issue with him. It just seems to be time. I don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? But he's going to be a bit of a target as well for referees, because they do like to do that sometimes, I swear. But nonetheless, he shouldn't have gone in knowing that he'd just been booked before that, and that was definitely a yellow as well. You take one for the team. It's just too risky to do that. Do you know what I mean? You could see that the ref was a bit card happy, but then he weren't giving that Birdie for them. He kicked Walsh in the stomach, I think, previous, or one of their defenders did. Do you know what I mean? Got away with it. It was all over the place. What was that when he acting? The stretcher come on in the first half and that, and then all of a sudden he was fine. Just that was dodgy, isn't it, in itself? I think that was just after the sending off.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure from memory, or might have just been before, but it's around about that time, because they could have had less men. Yeah, I think it was actually, because they could have had less men on there.
It could have cost us a game. Yeah, it could have, but it didn't. It could have, and that's the frustrating thing, and that's what we thought could happen. Do you know what I mean? But it didn't. Under Edwards, we would have caved in and lost that game, and it would have been a whole different story. But considering his performance up until that point was exceptional, he was definitely the best player on the park. So you've got to give him that credit. It's just a moment of just trying to stick up for his mates and that. Do you know what I mean? But and you do see it a lot anyway. But nonetheless, like I say, he shouldn't have done it, especially when you know the ref's a bit card happy. But then, you know, Jones obviously got brilliant run down the wing. Got taken out again by their player, and I think they both got a yellow. He kicked out at him. You know, that's petulant as well, frustrating. But that's what Lampard was going on about. It's not straight red really, but it could have been. Do you know what I mean? It made more of a meal of it. I think he didn't actually kick him, but he definitely attempted to. So if he'd have went down like a sack of shit, he would have gone as well, I reckon. So, you know, you can't be doing that. So that needs to be sorted out. So I don't know what it is, the Mr. Nice guy. I don't know what it is, like, but it needs to be gone for next season. You can't be doing that crap. But it is what it is. In certain ways, it just sort of, you know, it leveled things up, and then we thought, and then they had a bit of, you know, play, etc., but not enough, and we just kept still going, and that's what we needed to do. Made some really good substitutions anyway, and obviously then their keeper, we know, was prone to previous games in their defence of mucking up, basically. Done exactly that. Baptiste just come in, running in, you know, drilled his shot loads just to keep it on target, and it worked. A defender could have cleared it, just seemed to switch feet or whatever, but that's what happens, isn't it? When you, I don't know if it was the same guy actually who who went down like a sack of shit. Actually, I think it might have been, you know, who got Walsh the card. I think it was the same guy. So fuck you. But yeah, it was, you know, absolute limbs. Obviously, scoring that, and it just shows you the corner we've turned, and we should be all right. We should be all right. Other teams have got to do a lot, where we can just, get a point. We should go for the win, obviously, but other teams have got a lot harder task. Preston's task is massive. Hull, Portsmouth could go either way. I think Derby and Stoke could be a draw, or at some point they'll just end up playing keep ball with each other. If the scores are going to keep them both up, they're going to just do that. That's what you do, innit? So we'll see. It's going to be. We knew it'd end up going to the last day. Probably about a month ago, kind of said that. But listen, we deserved it overall, I think, and I think we've got a great chance.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, like I've said before, if we do manage to stay up, you've got to give Bloomfield massive credit, because I remember when we lost to Oxford away, when I was doing the fan cams and stuff, people were saying, he's not a miracle worker, it's going to be a big ask, and he could do it. We as fans wanted to see Edwards go obviously way earlier, because it just weren't working, and it's just a repetitive cycle week on week, like we know. And Bloomfield's come in, sign the players in January that we would have signed anyway, I think. But just the way we're playing, especially with the back three as well. We as fans felt it just weren't working anymore, because we see it not work so many times under Edwards. But he's come in and he's made it work. And even if we still go down, it will be down to goal difference probably, and that's not really his fault, because since he's come in, we've looked a lot more structured at the back, and you can't blame him for that.
Much better. Much better. You know what I mean? Three at the back. Under Edwards just didn't work at all. And, it's worked perfectly, and McGuinness has just grown and grown and grown. We need to change the captain as well next year, I think. I just don't think that Morris is the right man for the job personally. Yeah, gives a good speech and that apparently, but on the pitch he doesn't seem to, be able to lead that one. I don't think he's too reactive. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, we've said it for a while. And again, he has had some good performances since we've said it, but for me, you always like your captain to be someone who can see the whole game, for me, whether that's a goalkeeper or like a defender. Or like a midfielder, because obviously they see everything. I don't really like it being a striker personally, and I've already said it. That I said it. Obviously, you would have heard me when we beat Derby. I said give it to McGuinness next year, McGuinness or Clark. One of them type of players, because obviously Clark's been at the club for a while. He's been one of our best players this year. McGuinness, is going to be a future player for us essentially, part of that future group. Whether we obviously go up or down. And he's shown elements of being a captain, so I'd arguably give it to one of them next year, personally. But yeah, I mean, Baptiste, obviously coming and got the winner, like you say. I mean, again, like I've said, from myself and obviously others, he's got a lot of criticism. But you have to give him a lot of credit, coming in and getting the goal. And again, I've seen a few people going, well, the guy hitting there. At the end of the day, he's put it in the right place, for the player to panic. And that is exactly what he did. And we've been lacking that, that just stick it on him sort of thing. A lot of games this year, we've been trying to run it into the box, try and do too much, run it in a net essentially. Whereas Baptiste took on the strike, like I say, he's got a lot of criticism, but on his day, we know he's good. It's just his day has been rare this season. Like even earlier on in the season, he was getting, moments in games where he's helping the team. I look at Burnley opening day of the season, I know we got battered, but you look at a goal, we crossed it into Doughty, and then Doughty headed it onto Chong. I think pre-season when we played Celta Vigo, and pre-season's telling, look how our pre-season was. It was awful. Look how our season's been. Look at how Hull's was. It's telling. Obviously I know a completely different team, but look at Liverpool's. Their pre-season was great. Look how they're doing. Do you know what I mean? So pre-season is telling. And he crossed it in to their I can't remember who it was, and they scored for us in the pre-season. So we did have them early glimpses. So, you have got to give him a bit of credit there. But yeah, it's just his injuries which have let us down as fans. And we knew about this, but it's like, if he can stay fit, and hopefully he can now, because you've seen Reece Burke, who is quite injury prone, come back, and he hasn't got injured yet, and obviously touchwood he doesn't in the last game. But he's come in and done well when he's needed to. Hopefully Baptiste can say the same now, because I believe if he can, he will be a key asset for us. Because, like I've said on here, I said it when I went on the phone in on the OK Football yesterday. My cousin, he's a Brentford fan. He goes every game, home or away, pretty much every away game. And he said to me when Baptiste left to come to us, he said he's a quality player. He's just injury prone. So we know on his day he's good. He's shown them moments, like I say. So if he can stay fit, sort of like how Reece Burke has, and get appearances from the bench, I still wouldn't start him against West Brom personally. I know he got the winning goal, but like you said, Dad, I think you either put, if Walsh can't play, the thing don't get overturned. You've got Clark, you've got Naismith. They're the sort of ones I'd put in ahead of him. I'd sort of still be bringing on Baptiste personally. Just for now. So yeah, that's how I see it with Baptiste as well when it comes to that. But yeah, go through some more comments. Jackie says, "Hi, Ty does. I hope he gets the red card waived. Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, we shall see on that." Bloody hell, Stefan Ortega's in the chat. Come on. He says, "What's good?" Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Hope you're well yourself. But yeah, let's get into the player ratings. So in goal, obviously Kaminsky. Now, like I said, he didn't have an awful lot to do, but what was really good was right at the end of the game when he obviously got the ball down, and obviously done what the goalkeepers do when they go to the floor. But now, really good game when he did get called upon. Obviously, the 65th minute is great to see that he obviously got the applause and the chants and things like that. Emotional interview, of course, like it would be, obviously after the game. But really happy for Kaminsky to get the clean sheet. So for me, I'll give him a 7.
I'll give him an 8, based on the fact, obviously he didn't have a lot to do. We kept it quiet for him. But like I say, what he did have to do, I'll give him a 8 just based on the fact that, it takes a strong mentality and that to so soon after one of your parents passing to have that mentality to carry on and want to continue the job. Do you know what I mean? So just on that, I'm just going to give him an 8.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Totally agree. And obviously he did because obviously he weren't at the where they get the awards. He obviously got it on the day as well, and that was great to see. As well, 8 says Paul as well. Jackie's gone with the same as well. Moving on we'll go over to Mengi. Now, obviously, he's still had a few games back, so he's not going to be, as good as he previously was. But I just think there's some things he does in games, like he'll make a nervy pass, he'll do these nervy things, and I don't really expect to see it. And again, I know we're in the relegation battle and stuff, so there is pressure on the players, I guess, given where we were expected to be. But it just does have them little moments. But predominantly he was okay. So I'll give him a 6.5.
I'll give him a 7. And yeah, it's just a little bit rusty at the moment. That's all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. At least it weren't as bad, let's be honest, as his first game when he come on. That was really, really bad. That was the Blackburn game. So yeah, Mengi 8 says Paul as well. Fair enough. Jackie's gone with a 7. Moving on to McGuinness. We'll go over to McGuinness. Really solid again. Obviously not quite the level of like a Derby away performance, but it's very hard to constantly do that. But very good when he's, called upon. So it's typical McGuinness performance really at the moment. I'll give him 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5. Again, because we was playing attacking football, defenders didn't have an awful lot to do, let's be honest. And they've done it pretty well. But yeah, 7.5.
Yeah. Jackie's gone with the 8 from McGuinness. Moving on to Makoso. Thought he was decent again. You're still going to start him. I do like the way we are taking him off in games, though. Just to let him cool down a little bit, essentially. Not put too much pressure on him, essentially. So for me, I'll give him a 7.
We'll give him 7.5. The thing is with Mukosa as well, like he actually gets forward in little pockets and space and tries, when we are attacking, he likes to get forward as well. So he works his socks off. And that's why we've been shrewd with it and taking him off where we need to. So yeah, 7.5.
Yeah. Paul's gone with a 8 for McGuinness. Jackie has gone with a 7.5 for Mukosa, so has Paul as well. Moving on to Jones. Again, obviously the kick out was a little bit frustrating. I mean, there was times he was going forward and doing decent. Again, I like to see when he's doing that. But yeah, for me, I'll just give him a 7.
Yeah, 7. Not as influential, but still, decent. Close to getting a penalty there as well. Kick out's a little bit petulant. You've got to cut that out. But yeah, 7.
Yeah. Jackie's gone with a 7 as well for Jones. Moving on to Bell. Again, good to see him sort of higher up. Obviously as that wing back. Hopefully we do remain with it against West Brom as well. And yeah, I thought he was decent again. I'll go with another 7.
Yeah, looks better in that role, doesn't he? We've called for it for quite a while. Obviously, if Doughty being out, maybe he wouldn't have been there or not. We're not sure. Do you know what I mean? But it's definitely better in that position. Do you know what I mean? Getting him some good positions and trying to get the ball in the box, play it to the right player to get the cross in the box, etc., etc. Using his experience basically. So I'll give him a 7 as well.
Yeah, Jackie's gone with a 7 as well. Moving on to we'll go over to Lamine. Again, not too bad. Did have a shot before he come off. It's obviously the keeper saved it. But he's decent. He's quite effective in the attacking play in recent weeks. And obviously we know he's a defensive-minded player, but he seems to be better at sort of going up there in games and showing that element. So yeah, I thought he was decent. Again, I'll give him a 7.
Another one that's working better, you could say, under Bloomfield. Got a lot of pace, got a lot about him. Good technical players we've got, which and these are the signings, which were made in January. A lot of them, and I do think some of the times that the recruitment did go a bit awry. You could say that with Walsh. We normally look at people's personalities and not quite a lot. And obviously, Mick, obviously recovering from cancer, etc. Other people have stepped in and maybe they haven't quite worked on that as much. You know what I mean? Like with the Baptiste thing, yeah, it's not his attitude, but the injuries and that. It's sort of taking risks with players. But we'll see what happens with them going forward because I think Walsh and Baptiste have only got year contracts. We'll see what happens, especially if we stay up. But yeah, Lamine, decent performance again, 7.
Yeah. Jackie's gone 7.5 and Paul's gone with an 8. Moving on to Walsh. It's difficult, isn't it? Because he had such a great performance up until the red card. That yellow card he got before that, I've said it numerous times, but I'll say it again to people that didn't hear it. I didn't mind that because that was a tactical foul. But it's just also when you're already on the yellow, to do the push and things like that, like you say, maybe it could have been a bit more targeted because, he's obviously had it in the past, getting reds and stuff. But it was so frustrating because it was such a good performance. The shot was very unlucky. That would have been a banging goal if that went in. But he was really good still in the game. So I'll give him a 7.5.
Yeah, totally agree. All what you just said. Simple as that.
Yeah, exactly that. Paul and Jackie have gone 8.5, which is fair enough. It's very rare, isn't it, guys, that you give someone who got a red card that type of rating, but it does show how good he was in the game. It's like I still said, and I'll stand by it, he just needs that goal. He just needs that goal, and from there on in, that will be a full-on good redemption arc. And obviously, if this does get overturned, which hopefully it does, because we've only got one game left, he can, whenever he obviously plays again, he can kick on again, because I feel we should be giving him the chance again. And again, obviously, the other day it was heat of the moment. But when you think about it, he still had a really good game. Doing something that's not really his game as well, just defensive work as well, getting on the ball, just in deeper areas and things like that. So yeah, and then moving on we'll go over to Ali. Obviously, did get the the foul, which obviously gave them the red card. He was decent in the game. What I will say though is, as soon as he sort of went deeper as a wing back, I felt he was a bit all over the place. I'll be honest, and obviously we knew when he started playing there, going forward, it ain't going to work consistently. But even when he had the short cameo in this game, he was a little bit all over the place. I'll be honest, a bit sloppy in possession and stuff. But going forward, he was brilliant. So for me, I'll give him a 7.
I'll give him a 6.5. One of his quieter games. I'm not sure if he was playing up front or, like you say, it was the 3. But yeah, it was a bit quiet from him. But is what it is. So I'll give him a 6.5.
Yeah. Jackie and Paul, they're on the same wavelength quite a lot today. They're both gone with the 8 for Ali. Moving on to Asgard. Now, he got man of the match actually at the stadium. I thought first half he was working really well with Bell, actually, on that left-hand side. But I felt the second half he did drop off a little bit. He was a bit sloppy in possession. His passing was a bit off. But still, we know he's going to be a very good player. Had that shot. Well, had 2 shots, actually. One in the first half, one in the second half. The second half one that maybe was going in if it weren't blocked, and then the one in the first half, I like to see the players doing that. So for me, he still gets a fairly decent rating from me. I'll give him a 7. Yeah, 7.
I'll give him 7.5. I still think he was decent. You know what I mean? But he's putting shifts in, that guy. And I said he was more in that position. It's not really his position. He's better in the midfield coming forward, but he was still getting into pockets of space, etc., and working it. But Walsh just was the key player, wasn't he? Before he gets sent off. So yeah, 7.5. I'll give him still.
Yeah. Paul has gone 8.5 for Asgard, and Jackie has gone with the 8. Moving on to Morris. Again, a better performance. Obviously did have the header in the first half. Maybe he should have scored that. But it was a better performance to what we have seen. Me personally, I mean, a few people have said this performance was his best one. I'd say the last game against Bristol City personally was his best one in a while. But he was still decent in the game. I'll give him I've gone with a lot, but I'm going to go another 7.
But yeah, I'll give him a 7.
Yeah, simple as that. Moving on to the subs, Naismith, very good when he come on with his leadership. You could literally see it. Shouting at the players. When Walsh had the shot, he sort of, patted him as well to say, like, unlucky. And he's just showing that leadership, which we have missed. Whether he's starting or not, he's just showing it everywhere. And, obviously he was part of the clean sheet, obviously coming on. So I'll give him a 7.5.
Yeah, 100%. Come on, half time, and done really well. Just calm. Not hurrying his passes, looking for the right pass, etc. Yeah, good performance from Naismith, and might be starting the next game. 7.5.
Yeah, could very well be. Especially, obviously, we'd like to go for it, like we say, go for the win, of course, just to not have that panic essentially. But I could see it. It's away from home.
Yeah, there was a moment when he had a little run towards the box, and that it was giving me like Bournemouth.
Yeah, when he cut in. Yeah.
But he didn't. But still, yeah, 7.5, like I said.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I was going mental. I thought it was going to be that Bournemouth moment, but in the box sort of thing. Naismith 7.5 says Jackie. Fair enough. And then moving on to Clark. Again, was putting a decent shift when he come on. Obviously, come on for Lamine in the game. So yeah, I'll just give him a 7.
Yeah, 7. Like just after half time, really as well, and just shoring it up. I like the way that he's trusting them to come on and do that as well. You know what I mean? That was good. It worked well. 7.
Yeah. Jackie's gone 7.5. And Paul's gone 7.5 for Clark as well. Moving on to Baptiste. Guys, I'm going to have to give him man of the match. And the reason why is because, we weren't dominating, but weren't scoring. He's come on and put the pressure on. Basically got the winning goal. And Walsh would have definitely had it if he didn't get the red card, but he did. So for me, I'm giving it to Baptiste. Also, like I've said, because of the criticism he's got from me and obviously other fans as well, rightly so, because of the injuries. But this game, he got the winning goal for us, which could be vital, come obviously the end of the season. So, yeah, for me, I will give him, because he didn't give him man of the match, I'm going to give him an 8. And also, before you say what you're going to say, Dad, obviously he nearly got an assist, didn't he, as well, straight after. Asgard obviously had the poor touch, let's be honest. But yeah, he was influential and he won us the game. So, man of the match for me.
Yeah, like I say, like similar to the Wolf situation, really got a high rating, but, he got sent off, come on for the last, 10, 15 minutes and just went, just fighting for the team. He's had injuries. He's obviously gelled in the background and that, but he hasn't really had much opportunities. And, he's come and scored a massive goal for us and done the right thing, just keeping it on target. And it paid off. So, yeah, 8. And like I say, you said, like that one, Asgard should have probably left it for Chong. And Chong, I think, would have just smashed it in. And definitely would have been game over. But, it is what it is. But, yeah, 8 man of the match.
Yeah. By the way, guys, Baptiste, right, despite all the criticism, and this tells you how good his start to the season was, because on this, I can tell by the players, the orders I put him in, who got it first. He actually got our first votes. And obviously, we've done it midway through the season. So, that also makes you feel, well, I said he had a good start. He must have had a decent spell to get some votes, because he actually had 4. And now with us both giving him 1 each, he's now up to 6. He's actually up there in our things.
Crazy.
So, yeah, when you base it like that, but you also think, well, it goes back to what I said. He's a good player, but it's just his injuries is what let him down. But hopefully, he can stay consistent when it comes to being available, sort of like Burke. And again, I know we've only got 1 game left, but, take that into from now to, next season sort of thing. So, yeah, Baptiste 7.5 says Jackie. Paul's gone with an 8.5 for Baptiste. And then moving on to Burke and Chong. Burke, I'll just give a 6. Done a decent defensive work, I guess. Obviously, come on from Mengi. Chong, I wanted to see Chong on a bit earlier because I've said it. The Coventry away game, he was our best player. He ran past about 3 players from our defensive box, earned us the penalty that day. I wanted to see him come on a bit longer. So Chong, I guess I'll give a 6 as well. Probably if he got that shot, straight after when we were already 1-0 up, he probably would have got a higher rating. So I reckon he would have buried it. So, yeah, but I'll go with 6.
Yeah, I'll give both of them 6. And obviously the reason he didn't come on before was because of the sending off. Do you know what I mean? But, yeah, we've got the good ammo on the bench. So we'll leave it at that. But, I think West Brom, the new West Brom manager or the interim manager, whoever's there, has been playing a lot of the youth players. So they've got no fear and things like that. But they also got experience. Do you know what I mean? So these are the sort of players who can come on and just dribble past them and out-strength them and stuff if we need to. So, yeah, that's the key thing for me as well, having quite a fully fit squad, really. I know obviously you've got Elijah out, Doughty out, but the other players that we've got to come in who can actually affect games is decent, and that's probably what's going to save us as well.
Yeah, I didn't notice that they'd done that. Was that in their last game they played a lot of youth? Then I'm guessing.
I think so. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You know what I mean?
So I mean, fair. I mean, you have to give them a bit of credit if that's the case, then, because at the end of the day, they're playing a Cardiff team who had to go for it and sounded. I didn't watch it obviously, but it sounded like they were going for it. And obviously, I didn't quite manage to do it. So you have to give them credit if they're playing youngsters. So it's not going to be an easy game. Like I've said, as much as they got nothing to play for, you don't really like playing them teams sometimes because it's sort of unknown identity.
And we've got a record system as well, generally.
Yeah, it's a similar record to what we had at Derby away. And again, I know we broke that, but I don't know, man. I mean, I think of the game when I think of West Brom away at the moment, I think of the game 0-0 draw. when they had Steve Bruce. That was such a just a dull game really. But I know we've got to go for it. We're looking better. Like, I've got no worries about us at the back. It's just when them chances fall to us, are we going to take them? Are we not going to do a stupid moment like get a red card? Do you know what I mean? Like, because we have got the habit of doing it, like we said. It's just that which worries me. But I also agree with what you said, Dad. Preston have got a massive ask away at Bristol City, and I mean Leeds, like just give them the title already for me. I watched that game yesterday. Bristol City are a good team, and they just made them look like they were like, no disrespect, it made them look like they were like Cardiff or something. I mean, it was crazy. And then obviously Hull have got Portsmouth. I mean, yes, Portsmouth are great at home. I don't know. Hull are very good away. People are forgetting about Hull away. They're 8th in the away form. I think Hull are like us in the sense of if they need to get a result, they will. And I could see that, but hopefully for us, I don't. I think we can get at least a draw. Obviously, I'll predict on Friday my official prediction, but I think we can get at least a draw, which I think will help us. And like I say, I just think, Preston having that game away at obviously Bristol City, which Bristol City are very good at home. They have to win that game. I think that could help us. To be fair, come the end of the Saturday games. So yeah, Jackie says I'm anxious already for Saturday. Yeah, it's literally make or break. Like literally, that is it now. I know I've said it a lot in the recent weeks, but it literally is now. And yeah, I mean it's one of them where you're gonna have to look at the other results. You're just gonna have to just because it's just one of them days, isn't it? But they obviously all kick off at the same time as well. Early kickoffs, like it's gonna be mental, really. But hopefully we can do it. And like I've already said, and like I've said, you've got to give Bloomfield credit. Massive, massive, massive credit if we manage to do this. Also, bear in mind something I haven't even mentioned when I spoke about it. He's never managed in the Championship either. So to come in a step up higher and do that would be incredible. But I feel even if he does it, even if we do go that, you still got to give him credit. He's made us look much better, and you would be confident, going into next season because you look at the reason if we do go down, what it will be goal difference, won't it? And we look better defensively under him, so you can't blame him for that. It's taking them chances when they're fall upon from the players up there, but he was desperate to get Kone in, so he knows what we need to address in the sense of a striker situation. So also bear that in mind as well. Obviously, I don't think unless Wickham don't go up, which looking like they might not. But if they don't, maybe go for him. But again, it depends where we are. If we're in the Championship, then yeah, I'll definitely say go for him. But if we go down, then maybe look elsewhere. To be fair, look elsewhere. But yeah, I've always liked Bloomfield. Yeah, well, like I say, I've liked him. Throughout his time so far. Obviously, the only thing I have said is certain substitutions in games. But when it comes to his in-game management, in the sense of the formation, the way we're playing, you can't moan about that for me because we are looking much better. It's just taking the chances. Defensively, we're not looking wobbly every time someone goes forward against us, whoever it is. So it's just a sub sometimes for me. But other than that, I've been more than happy with him, really. So yeah, and I know you've been the same on that as well, Dad.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously the problem is scoring, but we're still doing that. But we really need it. Probably, step up. Just step up in the last game and do what you need to do.
Yeah. Hey, lads, hope you're doing well. Yep, good, thanks, mate. Hope you're doing well. Playoffs, here we come. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing ending for you guys, really. And I know you guys do struggle in playoffs, so I'm guessing you're not really too confident in that. So yeah, it's madness, really. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's what a championship can do to you, really. But anything else, Dad, you want to say in general before we wrap up?
Nah, that's it.
Yeah, no, that is it from me as well. Obviously, we will be back again on Friday to obviously preview the massive game. And like I say, it will obviously be episode 250. Same time, 6:30. So obviously do tune into that. And then from there on in, Obviously, I'll have a match reaction on the day. I could potentially be going to the Bricklayers Arms in Luton to watch it. So yeah, if I am, then obviously I'll let you guys know. Well, I'll let you know either way Friday. But yeah, I could be going there to watch it. So I will have a match reaction from outside there. And yeah, man, I'll probably go live on TikTok, mate. That could be some limbs. I can't lie. If we do start, that could be some limbs in there. So do follow me on there as well if you're not already. That is in the bio and or description, shall I say? So used to being on TikTok. But yeah, do smash a like on this stream if you haven't already. Do subscribe as well to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, like I say, Hat Show on Friday. From there on in, there'll be shorts out. And if anything comes out on the Walsh, if it gets overturned, then I'll probably do a little thing on that as well. So do check all of that out. But yeah, big up to everyone that's tuned in. Smash a like, subscribe, follow me across all my socials, subscribe to the extra channel. And yeah, we will see you on Friday. So until then, take care and peace.